Some of the major homebuyer mistakes don't show up on closing day. They show up years later when you realize that your home isn't worth what you thought. And most buyers don't realize they made a mistake until it's too late. So in this video, I'm covering the advice that, in my opinion, most agents don't talk about nearly enough, if at all. And quite frankly, many of them just want to sell you a house that fits your price range, and they don't spend enough energy advising you against a bad buy. The best agents actually advise their buyers the same way they'd advise a family member, looking out for the quality of the investment. So let's talk about the mistakes that will cost you thousands if you're not careful. I'm going to start off broadly here. The number one biggest mistake of all is not considering resale value. It's a simple thing, but super important to ask the question, who is going to want this house in 5 to 10 years? And that's a broad term, resale value. But a big part of that equation is choosing the wrong community, for example, for the future. What does that mean? What homebuyers want now has changed a lot in the last few years because the way we live and even work has changed, and it will continue to evolve. So people are now measuring quality of life by looking at the living experience. And while millions of people are still working remotely and need workspace at home, millions have also gone back to commuting. So residential real estate is still most valuable in towns that connect people to jobs, transportation, healthcare, and recreation. Home buyers now are really no longer willing to spend more than 45, maybe 50 minutes commuting to work each way. And they also want access to weekend recreation that doesn't require too much travel. So if you're considering buying in a town, look at what you can get to if you drive 15 to 60 minutes in any direction. Look for direct access, if not to a city or metro area, then at least to some type of corporate hub, a major highway, even better, a commuter train line, and a good hospital. And if you can get to a recreational area of any kind in under an hour, you have done really well. It could be a beach, a national park, a ski resort, fishing and boating, a theme park, or even a major zoo. So location has become all about connecting to people, services, and experiences. Now, on a side note, this is not to say that you shouldn't buy in extreme rural areas, which can offer some of the most beautiful land in the nation. Rural life can be hugely rewarding for people who don't like crowds and cities. The affordable prices, open space, and the beauty of country living are real perks, but at the least, you still need reasonable access to health care. So check out the number of physicians as well as emergency and trauma care options. Okay, the second mistake would be ignoring the school district because you don't have kids. You might not have kids now, but the next person to buy your home might. And this is a big one because it is a fact that homes in good school districts sell faster, command higher prices, and they also hold their value better in a market downturn. Now, the next one is where homes don't really hold value that well, and that's buying on a busy road just because the price is better. Now, some main roads are quite pretty, and there are some buyers who don't want to feel isolated and actually like them, and maybe buying on a busy road is all you can afford to get into that really good town, and that's all fine. But if you pay low to be there, you'll sell low to leave because homes on busy streets, near intersections or highways, fire stations, or train tracks, these take longer to sell, and they also appreciate in value more slowly. So your home is going to sell lower than the same exact home that's on a quiet side street. As they say, you can't get in for a bargain and expect to make a killing when you leave. So one other note about the future on a busy road, make sure to find out if there are any commercial buildings or developments that might be in the planning stages, because that also could really lower the value of your home after you buy. The fourth mistake is buying the biggest house on the street or with expensive finishes in a modest neighborhood or any kind of luxury upgrades where buyers won't pay for them. Let someone else buy that house. There is an old saying about making money in real estate. Buy that smallest house on the most expensive street and then just make upgrades commensurate with the neighbors. The rule of thumb is you make most of your money on location, not on upgrades. And on that, I have another video only on upgrades and how shockingly little the cost you make back when you sell. So check that one out at the end of the video. And while you're at it, please do hit subscribe, as you can ask me questions, and I'm always posting good information about the real estate market, and I'd love for you to be on my team. Okay, speaking of upgrades, I have seen this fifth mistake so many times I cannot count. Getting seduced by and paying for a home because of the new kitchen. I understand the seduction to move into a new home with a shiny new expensive kitchen, but that is emotional buying, and you're paying a premium for someone else's work on top of it. It's much smarter financially to pay less for the house because your property taxes and your mortgage payment will be lower, and use the savings to renovate the kitchen yourself later on in your style and avoid paying that premium. And if you don't or won't have the cash to renovate, but you spent less on the house, you can probably get a home equity loan in a year or two to fund it, and you'll still be ahead of the game. Okay, this next one is a really big mistake, and maybe it's hard to tell on the surface, but it's buying in a community that's going down in value, where the local economy might be beginning to stagnate rather than improve. You could buy a gorgeous house or condo, but if the local economy is turning downward, then the popularity of the town and the values will follow it down and bring your house right down with it. So how do you tell? Well, your agent should be able to tell you a lot if you ask direct questions, but the most obvious is to drive through the shopping district, the downtown area, and see if there is A, good foot traffic. Is it bustling or sort of quiet and sad? And B, are there empty storefronts and for lease signs? That's a major red flag. Beyond that, you should also look online and see what the town council has been talking about in their open meetings, and do a deep Google AI search on the town to see if anything has been covered in the news, like major corporations closing down or rising foreclosures, job losses, hospitals closing down, things like that. If the town is super small and doesn't have a newspaper, search the nearest big city media websites. Now, as for crime, your agent is not ethically allowed to discuss that with you. So it's on you to contact the local police for crime statistics and ask if they're rising, falling, or if they've stayed constant, especially violent crime. On a similar note, if you're buying a condo, and yes, I have a video dedicated exclusively to this too, watch out. Poorly run condo associations can cost you thousands of dollars after you close. You need access to all their financials before you buy it, but my favorite tip is also to ask for all the board meeting minutes for the last 6 months if they meet monthly, or for a full year's worth if they meet every other month. And when you read those, you will learn all you need to know about what's right and what's wrong with the building, and also what, if any, special assessments are being talked about and or planned in the next year or two. The next mistake is buying the different house, the outlier or the unicorn. For example, buying a 2-story in a neighborhood filled with ranches, buying the one modern house in a traditional neighborhood, or buying a home where maybe the garage has been turned into a living space. The buyers and the appraisers compare your home to the bulk of the neighborhood, not your taste, and the appraiser will probably underappraise your home because of its uniqueness and difference from the rest of the neighborhood, because they know that those kinds of homes are harder to sell and they sell lower. So beware that outlier house. The buyer pool for them is simply just much smaller. Okay, speaking of that, let's talk about bad floor plans and those layouts that hurt resale value, like bedrooms that require walking through another bedroom, or if there's no real primary suite, or chopped up rooms, or sometimes there are too few bathrooms for the bedroom count, or that weird tiny porch that seems useless, or any ultra custom layout when everything else on the street is more standard. You could be in a great location, but if the layout doesn't work for most buyers, it doesn't work. Next up, I want to talk about underestimating natural light, which is so much more important than sellers realize. Maybe it's subliminal, but it has a real effect on buyers even when they don't realize it. Buyers overall are attracted to bright interiors, south and west exposures, and a good window placement. So dark homes feel smaller and older even if they aren't. So while you might see the house at a certain time of day when the light is at its best, take note of which way the living spaces are facing and the positioning of windows. Low natural light definitely lowers the value of a home. Okay, this next mistake is about the inspection, and I do also have a really good and important video on the top red flags that come up and when to walk away. But here I want to talk about the one broad mistake, and that is to just hire one general inspector and let everything ride on that. So there's almost always a need to bring in a specialist or two, like a chimney inspector, maybe a roofer, having a septic tank inspected, or having the sewer line tested, having the property scanned for any underground oil tanks. These are some areas that can cost you thousands, if not tens of thousands, in repairs or replacements after you close, if you miss them. Home inspectors are not specialists, they are generalists. Yes, they are looking for any suspected issues, but they don't always call in a specialist when they should. So think about that if you or your inspector suspect any possible issues that need a closer look. Another mistake I've seen a lot is buyers doing renovations before they have lived in the home for a while. Now, it takes time to get to know your house and all its quirks, but more importantly, you could move in thinking you want to add a family room addition, for example, and after a year you realize that is not what you want to do at all. So give yourself time to see how you use the home before spending a lot of money on major renovations. And one mistake that is pretty basic but so important is shopping before you get pre-approved for a mortgage. So many buyers get excited and start shopping, at least online, and what you can actually afford might really surprise you. It's not hard at all to get your paperwork together and over to a lender, so I strongly urge you to do that. So I hope this was helpful, and check out my other videos, especially the one on upgrades, home inspections, and buying a condo. And please do subscribe, and I'll see you next time.